Did you get a new baby sister? Yeah. What's her name? Nikki, what's your baby's name? Morgan Beth. Do you like her? Do you? Morgan's 2 weeks old. Look how cute she is. Oh, Morgan was very opinionated, very strong-willed. She had a lot of goals. When she couldn't reach her goals, it frustrated her very badly. She loved her family. She didn't take anything from anyone. She definitely stood her ground on everything that she thought she believed in.
She was one of a kind. She was a hellion, a hellraiser. If she didn't like what you were doing, she'd tell you about it. She had a mind of her own.
I started noticing signs that Morgan was mentally ill when she started feeling things in extremes. She started having ups and downs. She started doing things behind my back and keeping things from me, like she started taking pills, and I don't know, she just started becoming like a completely different person, somebody that she would have never imagined herself being, somebody that she never wanted to be.
I always knew there was something different about Morgan. She had sensory issues since she was born. She couldn't sleep in a room that wasn't pitch black dark. I had to put a Band-Aid over the light on the baby monitor because she couldn't sleep if there was a light on in the room. She didn't like certain clothing that fit the wrong way or felt the wrong way. I would talk to the pediatrician about it, and he diagnosed her with sensory disorder. Then when Morgan was probably about 8 or 9, I could tell that Morgan couldn't cope with things anything bad that happened, Morgan would withdraw and become very angry. I knew there was something wrong. When her dad and I divorced, Morgan had a really hard time with it, and then when he passed away in 2009, I really knew that Morgan was having issues then, and she's seen several psychiatrists along the way and several therapists, and nothing seemed to help. The progression of Morgan's illness really happened when she met a therapist at the local community health center that would give her a lot of benzaprines and a lot of medication that she didn't test her for illegal drugs, for one, and she didn't know that Morgan was drinking with them, and she didn't have any connection with anyone in our family. The therapist didn't. She only seen Morgan, and Morgan was with a group of people that were very, very bad people and bad influences, and they were also on the same benzaprine, and she was being prescribed 5 different medications, and she was a very thin person, and she was drinking with them, and I could just see that Morgan was withdrawing, and it was almost like she was in a mental psychosis, and she had become paranoid. Reality was no longer reality to her. There was nothing I could do, even if I called the therapist. When your child is over 18, there's nothing you can do. You have no rights at all. She had signed the HIPAA paper that they wouldn't talk to me about anything. I could see the medication she was being prescribed because she was still on my insurance, and when I even questioned that, they said it was none of my business, and it was my business because she was my daughter. I got her into the Linder Center of Hope, and she was so close to going, and that day she said she wasn't going, and the more I pushed, the more she withdrew, and I knew that it was going to end. I knew that it was not going to end in a good way, and I couldn't make anyone listen to me. I knew it was going to happen that day. I talked to her earlier that morning, and my whole life just ended that day. I'll never be the same person. I don't think I'll ever be happy again. I knew it changed everything for everybody in our whole family. But I was also relieved that she would never be homeless. She would never try heroin. She would never be cold. She would never be hungry. And she wouldn't be with the people that she was living with.
So the day I found out that Morgan committed suicide, I missed a call from Morgan's sister, Chelsea. And I kind of got excited because I was hoping that it was Morgan reaching out to me because we hadn't talked since we broke up in like a 6-month period. I called Chelsea back and she told me, and I just kind of remember everything going still and rocked my whole world. I don't remember driving back to my house that day. I don't really remember the rest of that day. I just remember when I found out, I just kind of felt like unsafe in a world without her, because she was always my rock, and she was the person that I turned to for everything. And then losing that person, you just kind of feel a void. It was definitely the worst day of my life.
It was like 9 or 10 in the morning, and Mom just called me screaming. It was terrible. The world stopped. Everything I was doing, I put down. I went straight to Mom, and the whole year before that, we knew it was coming. But no one could stop it. And the moment it finally happened, it was just like, damn, she finally did it.
In the beginning, it was really hard after Morgan died, and I was in a really dark place after it happened. And I even asked myself if I could exist in a world without her. You just gotta keep going and doing what you can to stay positive.
Oh, I'm just doing what I have to do every day to get by. I miss her every day.
If Morgan was here right now, I would obviously tell her that I love her and remind her how much I love her. Let her know that I'm no longer angry with the choice that she made. I do like to think that she could have done it. She could have gotten better if she would have made the right choices instead of making every choice to destroy herself. And a part of me wishes that she would have given me the chance to say goodbye. I know that might be selfish, but Morgan was my life for 5 years, just as much as I was hers. And with everything that we went through together, I just feel like I deserved something. And not to be left with all the what ifs, because we weren't on good terms the last time that I seen her, which made it really hard.
I love her very much, and I wish she would have never met those people, and I wish that she would have gave rehab a chance and not be seeking drugs to fix herself. I wish she would have went into a real rehab.
If you're somebody that has recently lost somebody to suicide, I would just advise you to stay strong and not focus on the what ifs, and remind yourself that there is nothing you can do to change it. You might have done everything you could to help that person, but if they didn't want to meet you halfway, there's not really much you can do. You can't force somebody to get better. They have to want to get better.
Someone told me that I had always grown up thinking that if you committed suicide, you wouldn't get into heaven. And somebody told me that God gives you a pass. If you're mentally ill, you still get to go to heaven. So that's what I would tell somebody.
If you're somebody who's struggling with a mental illness right now, with thoughts of suicide, my advice to you would be to just stay. I like to think that suicide, it might end your pain, but it also eliminates any chance of you getting better. Living with a mental illness is totally possible. People do it every day, and with, therapy and, making choices that aren't gonna destroy you, I think it's possible. And I think if Morgan was here right now, she would totally regret her decision. And, stay around to experience everything that life has to offer, and know that it's not a bad life, it's just a bad day.